guys behind the scenes just seem to be able to essentially make something go viral out of nowhere.
No, I think you can feel that happening sometimes. Like we said, like I'll post something that I just really don't think is very good.
Yeah.
And you'll feel it just kind of blow up out of nowhere, and I'm kind of like, what is happening there? Like, it does feel intentional. It doesn't make sense that some do that well and others don't. And there has to be someone or something behind that, because it's if it was genuinely randomly selected almost by the algorithm, not randomly, but if it was a complete merit-based system, that just wouldn't happen. There's been too many confusing things for that to be true. Do you know what I mean? There's been too many times where I've been like, oh, this has just died on its arse, or this has just gone really out of nowhere. It isn't just merit-based, no way. I'm sure of that.
Have you ever reposted a video?
Yeah, I did. Like, there's been a couple of times I've done that. Once was when I had got shadow banned because I'd put fuck in the captions. And I was like, fuck, I need to just delete that quickly, re-upload it without that in the captions. And I did, and by which point it was already dead. But then there was another time where I was posting my delivery memes, and I uploaded a new version of it, and it kept being out of sync. Did you ever see those delivery memes that I did? It was basically like a guy at the door posing for delivery.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And like, you know, the concept of that sketch was that like he was asking the delivery driver to take pictures of him and not of the package, and he kept posing, and there was a beep beep every time he posed. Right, it was like a picture sound, and I kept uploading this TikTok, and I was like, it's out of fucking sync, because like when I'm doing like the timing I'm editing my TikToks, I like the timing to be perfect, and like if the beep hits like when just at like half a second out, it's not going to be as funny. It's not going to be as funny by about 50%, which is weird, because like when you're editing, you can like see, you find this sweet spot and it's perfect. And I kept uploading this meme, and I was like, it's fucking wrong. And I went back and re-edited it, and I was going mental because it was like episode 2 in this series, and it was going really well. I ended up re-uploading it like 7 times, and thankfully it ended up doing well, because I also think TikTok knows when you've already posted something. I think it has like logs it almost.
Yeah, I've never really figured it out, to be honest, because I see some people. So some people download their videos on TikTok using an app.
Yeah.
So there's a couple I use which remove the watermark.
Yeah.
Then you can obviously download it just using TikTok, but then leave the watermark on.
Yeah.
But apparently, if you then, because a lot of people download it to then repurpose it for Instagram and whatever. Yeah. But then Instagram have now got a thing where if they see that TikTok logo, they'll then downvote it, because obviously it's advertising another platform.
Yeah.
So, but then I've seen people upload it on TikTok with the watermark on it. So it's a TikTok video with the watermark, and sometimes it does terrible, and sometimes it does well. And like I had a video, my highest performing video on one of my accounts was 2 million views last time I checked it, and it was the worst video I've ever done. It was the laziest. It was rubbish. All I did was record my laptop screen, and it was of a front end developer. His portfolio, basically, because what he's done is he's turned this portfolio, rather than like having a PDF document, he's made like a Pokemon style game.
Oh, cool!
And then you can like walk around the world and like look at his stuff. And I uploaded it, and it got 2 million. But anyway, I reposted that about 3 months later out of curiosity to see how it got on.
Yeah.
Because it did awful on YouTube. It got like 10 views on YouTube and like 15 on Instagram, and like 2 million on TikTok, and then like 1,000 on LinkedIn. So I was like, there's no consistency here at all. And then I re-uploaded it, and I think it got like 10,000 views on TikTok, but nothing like it was. And I suppose there is a chance that people would have been like, "I've seen this video."
Maybe. I think honestly, I find it fascinating. There's a whole load of factors involved, like what time are you posting it? What are your hashtags? What's your caption? Because the caption, I think, is so important. The more I think about it, like when you flick on a video, your eyes go like bum bum bum. They go like writing on the picture, what's on the picture, caption. And I think the caption is the most important thing, because if you see something that makes you think, what does that mean? It makes you stay. So I don't like to do captions that are like really obvious. So like they kind of tell the punchline up front, or they kind of like almost set the joke up. Like I don't like captions that are like that moment when your mum sees you, blah blah blah, something like that, because it's like it's too easy to swipe away from that because you're like, oh, I get the joke already.
So when you mean caption it, do you mean the little writing at the bottom of the screen?
Would you call it description maybe?
The description, yeah.
Description, okay, yeah. So description.
Well, yeah, caption description, but that's interesting because some people don't post captions.
Yeah.
But then I've also seen some other stuff saying that TikTok's moving more towards like an SEO-based thing. Yeah. So some people are writing Instagram like.
I started writing longer ones, yeah.
And it's working.
People started finding my videos on Google. They started commenting, being like, "I found this on Google."
Oh, interesting.
But I think it's more important to have the in-app, always optimised towards the in-app experience. I think those people who don't do captions, they're just really, really good at what they do to the point where they don't have to, and everyone watches because they see that person and they're like, oh, it's that person. But also there's something equally engaging about not putting a caption. Like also putting a caption that is just so lazy, it's like, what the fuck's this about? Like once I saw a really well-performing TikTok and the caption was, no hashtags, I choose you. As in like, I'm not putting any hashtags, whoever this hits,
right,
you're going to get it. And it was a really good caption because it made you stop and be like, oh, like it made you feel like, well, he's chosen me. I don't know. So you watched it. So yeah, I put captions deliberately to reference something about halfway through the video. And I will never ever put watch till the end or this happens at the end or anything like that. And I won't put stay till the middle. I'll just put like, say I laugh in the middle of a video and people like my laugh sometimes. I'll say something about that. Like I'll be like, oh, that really made me laugh. It's a terrible example. I would never put that. But let's say I say that. Because then that makes them stay for at least 5 seconds to be like, what made him laugh? You know? Anyway, back to my point. There's loads of things involved in this, I think. What time you post it, what's your caption, what are your hashtags, and who's online at that time? What day did you post it? And like, if the first 100 people are just by chance the perfect 100, then it could get 2 million, but it could be the exact same TikTok at the exact same time with everything the same. And you might have only 50 people are perfect because the algorithm just got it slightly wrong. And you might hit like 50K. And I just think like, you just leave it up to the gods sometimes. So sometimes like, I kind of think about reposting, but then I quite like leaving it up to the gods. Like, if this one does well, then whatever, like that's just the way it was supposed to be. I did it right that time. And the other times I did it wrong, I'll just move on kind of thing. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, it does, but how does it make you feel? Because I think a lot of people, sometimes they get lazy with their creation because they're like, well, it's a gamble of if the video is even going to perform. So when you spend, because I know you've done this before, we've chatted about it before, when you spend like 2 minutes on a video, walking video, just ranting, and it does 500K, and then you do a well created, crafted, proper skit, which, as I've said to you before, like I think they're funnier a lot of the times. And how does it make you feel? Do you get frustrated? Does it put you off?
It definitely puts me off. It definitely puts me off doing very well, what's the word? Devised sketches. So like shot, reverse shot, wide shot, like doing a proper edit. It puts me off that. I would only do that if I was like really confident of an idea and I was doing it with someone else, because like I can't trust myself entirely as like a comedic performer to do a sketch like that and it go well. I kind of need some kind of like moral support almost when I'm doing it. But I still do like easy sketches, so I'll still do like one-shot sketches with my mates quite a lot, or maybe two-shot sketches, and that's fine. But it definitely puts you off to an extent. Yeah, like when I'm thinking of ideas now, I'm just kind of thinking, well, I should probably just talk about it rather than acting it out. You know? Yeah. Cool.
Well, look, it'd be good to go into your creative process, but I think for those who don't know who you are, can you just give like a background?
Who the fuck
are they? If you could just like give a background of like who you are before you were doing all of this, and I suppose your journey up until jumping on TikTok, the challenges that you've had maybe in the early days, and then up until present day, if that's right.
Yeah.
Over to you.
I am Fred. I've been living in London 7 years. I've been TikToking for 2. I've been working in marketing for the first 5, and I have always wanted to be successful online with some kind of content or whatever. I've tried all the platforms, and then towards the end of 2021, just at the back end of all those lockdowns, I just decided to start trying, and managed to hit like some successful videos. January 2022, started posting some like corporate memes and things like that, and then throughout 2022 grew to 200k, and then now I'm about 250k. Just kind of doing whatever really. And recently, as you know, 3-4 weeks ago-ish, I quit my full-time job in marketing to work part-time in marketing and also be a full-time, part-time freelance TikToker as well. So that was quite a big moment. And
you don't want to say the word influencer or...
Yeah, I think I prefer that to TikToker though, because TikToker makes you sound like you're strapped to one app. And to be honest, I prefer Instagram a lot of the time. It's a lot better. But yeah, influencer. Yeah, part-time influencer.
Yeah, I suppose like influencing now is, when people say influencing, they either think of like fit fam girls on Instagram, don't they?
Yeah.
And people who promote like products and green teas and stuff.
That's it, yeah. I see influencer as being like someone who has a niche and they've got their community. And so they can influence that community to buy things in that niche.
Yeah.
So like makeup's the best example. So I don't think I really influence anyone. I think I'm just like, I think people follow me because they liked one of my videos once. But I don't think I'm an influencer, no. But I'll say it anyway.
Yeah, I'd class you more as like a TikTok comedian, or just a comedian, actually, not even a
I'd
TikTok
like that, yeah, I'd like to be a comedian. I really want to start stand-up comedy, and
I think you should.
Yeah, and I'm really just looking for the right venue, like, because I'm a bit stressed. Do you know what I'm stressed about? And this sounds really like egotistical, but I'm really, really stressed about like someone knowing me there, because like I say, when I'm out on the street on a Saturday night and people are drunk, I'm maybe get like 3 people across the night come up and say, "Oh, I saw one of your TikToks," or something. And that's fine. That's literally 3 people in the entirety of London. There's basically nobody. However, if there was any chance that one of those people was in a comedy gig where I was performing comedy for the first time, even just the thought of that makes me so anxious, because they would have, even just that one person would have like, I guess, expectations or something. I just want to know that I'm doing it to like completely new people. And I know what you're thinking, and what everyone's probably thinking is, you will, because I'm not fucking TikTok famous, but it's just the anxiety of it, you know?
I disagree. I think you will very likely be performing in front of people who do know you, and I think they've got to, because it's a different type of comedy. What you do, a lot of it, I've watched it, and I may have even said it to you before, but a lot of it, I think, can be transferred into stand-up comedy, into like a routine. Yeah. But especially when you're like doing observational comedy, right? A lot of your stuff is observational, because I know obviously you do your skits, which are great. The observational stuff where you're just walking down the street and stuff, you could very easily move that into a routine. Yeah. Because if you think, you like Ricky Gervais, right? Yeah. So I don't know if you ever listened to his really old XFM shows with Carl, and Steve.
I actually, just to clarify, I really like that stuff.
The XFM shows I absolutely love. So when did I get into Ricky? I didn't actually watch The Office when I was a kid. I didn't get into it until like last couple of years.
Oh, all right.
Weirdly,
that's lucky, because you got to see it for the first time, like as an adult.
Yeah, I just didn't. I don't know. You watch things and you don't really grasp the humor, and then your humor changes over time, right? So I used to like. Do you know Lee Evans? Like,
I love Lee Evans.
I used to love Lee Evans. He used to be my favorite comedian when I was like, from about 12 until 22. I went to I think it was his last tour, but it was weird because my like sense of humor changed, and Lee Evans is very in your face. I don't want to say like immature, but highly energetic, like loud. Yeah. And what happened was, for me anyway, is I started preferring sarcastic humour. So I like Ricky Gervais and observational humour, and a bit more well crafted.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, Ricky Gervais, his old stuff is amazing. Like his XFM shows, people actually go to like. Did you know there's like a whole like cult around going to sleep listening to him?
Yeah, I reckon I started that, mate. I don't want to be. I don't want to be the guy that's like I knew it first, but I swear to fucking God, I downloaded all those XFM shows when I was about 14, and used to fall asleep to them every single night, and I thought it was my little secret, and it annoyed me when everyone else found out about it. Because now you go on Reddit and the fucking the zip file of all of them is always there, isn't it?
So what is up with that? Because I only started doing it recently, and my fiance won't let me because she hates Ricky Gervais's laugh.
Oh yeah.
Because she'll be drifting off, and then she'll just hear like that. So, because I started listening to the Ricky Gervais stuff a few years. Years ago. I was listening to the XFM stuff because I had to download onto my iPod.
Yeah.
Now it's all available on Spotify. But
good times.
Yeah, great times. And I think it got really popular when they were doing those animated shows on Channel 4.
Yeah.
Around the time An Idiot Abroad came out.
Yeah.
But
agree. Yeah, that was when it started to blow up, and I started to feel like it was being taken from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people felt like that, mate. To be honest, and I was one of the people that was. I can't remember if I was listening to it. I think I was listening to it before because I think I sort of stumbled upon it.
Yeah, you must. I think you will have been. They did XFM, and then they did Apple Podcasts, but they did it in audiobooks, I think, or they did Apple Podcasts, and then they sold 2 audiobooks that were like specials.
Yeah,
and then they did. Then they did a few like one-off specials for free. They basically invented podcasting as a comedy like outlet, and then fucked off. And didn't do anything else.
It was the most downloaded podcast in the world at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's actually crazy. And I assume you liked Extras as well?
Yeah, great.
Loved Extras.
Yeah.
I think I actually prefer Extras to The Office sometimes.
Oh, nice, yeah. There's some such good episodes.
And then his stand-up was good. I mean, a lot of his stand-up... The funny thing as well is the people who... Because I always push people towards the XFM shows.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, that's actually his best stuff.
Yeah,
the crappy radio show he did.
So candid as well. Like, the whole... If people like Carl Pilkington, I'm like, if you haven't listened to XFM, you don't like it. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. You've just seen An Idiot Abroad and, maybe his new stuff, Sick of It and stuff, but... It is, in my opinion, it's the greatest radio show ever, and it will probably, I think, given time, because it's still not been that long, really, objectively. It's been like what in terms of like human history and stuff. But in 100 years, people might look back at that and go, "That was like a."
Well, it was a big moment in like culture or it was a big influence in culture. I don't know any other radio shows that anyone downloads zip files to go listen to. So in that sense, it has to be one of the best.
This is the thing. It's going to be. It's really interesting because the quality is not great, like in terms of like compared to the normal production values of like a radio show, and they are just they swear at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. Yeah. I was actually googling like the laws and stuff because I couldn't understand, but obviously it's a running joke on the show anyway. But yeah, it's fascinating, and with Ricky, like. I listened to a podcast actually with Stephen Merchant a couple years ago, and because there's this whole thing online, isn't there, about whether or not they're all actually friends still?
Yeah.
And apparently they're all fine. It's just Ricky said, "Look, I worked with Steve, side by side for 15 years. It's like working with a colleague for 15 years. Like you probably would be like, actually, we're sort of done now, sort of thing."
I feel like they will work together again. I just want to go back actually to stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with, I understand the trajectory you've gone on. Because like I also like Lee Evans and I did like Ricky Gervais's earlier stuff. And like that's a really understandable kind of way to go. I feel like I've gone the opposite way. Where I feel like I look at Lee Evans and the stuff he used to do as being like masterfully crafted, and I know you'll feel the same. It's just a different type of craft. Like it is goofy and it is like ridiculous and very immature. But then again, like it's so hard to do that. Like if you try and be goofy like that, people's immediate reaction is like, just fucking shut up, mate. You know what I mean? Just shut up. If you've seen any other comedian be like that, because I haven't, it's just ridiculous how he does it. And I look at observational comedy and people kind of poo-poo really famous observational comedians like Michael McIntyre and Peter Kay, the kind of like real audience friendly ones. But again, like they're famous for a reason. Like observational comedy to that level is so hard. It's so hard, and so I think there's value in them all. Is my point, and I think that I've grown up to probably respect the Lee Evanses more than I probably used to. I think
it's just like music.
Yeah.
So what do you like? Rock, pop? You know?
Yeah.
It's just I haven't gone back and watched Lee Evans because I don't. It's one of those things where it's like I loved him so much, I was obsessed with him for so long, and I don't want to rewatch his old stuff and have it ruined. So I'd rather just leave that. Ricky Gervais, you know, he's. Tell you what, though, have you seen his newest stand-up? Not to make this the Ricky Gervais podcast.
I think I did. I it was my last Ricky Gervais stand, and I actually went to see it live at the thingy. At the Hammersmith Polo, or wherever it was.
I think I saw it, and I saw it.
No, it was in Leicester Square. What's it called? Near Oxford Circus.
That's where I went.
Hippodrome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, were you there? I was in the VIP. I've got a funny story about that.
Nice.
Basically, what happened was my fiance ordered the tickets like a year and a half before because obviously it got cancelled during COVID and stuff. And on the day, she hadn't checked because she's not very good at stuff like that. And on the day, we found out that it was a fake ticket from Viagogo. So, guys, do not buy a ticket from Viagogo because the customer service is in like Sweden.
Yeah.
The customer service girl told me that the guy was going to meet us outside the stadium. It was all bollocks. We knew it was bollocks. And we said, well, look, we're going there. And then they emailed us on the way there saying, oh, your ticket's been refunded. You haven't got a ticket. Anyway, we got there and we were just about to leave because the guys were basically saying that it's sold out. Like, you can't even buy a ticket at the stage. And this couple were buying a VIP booth with 2 spaces. So we went quarters with them.
Oh, nice.
And I was sat in the little VIP booth right next to Ricky Gervais.
That's such a result. Anyway, yeah, we shouldn't talk about Ricky Gervais. We shouldn't. I think it was my fault. So.
It's alright, mate.
On to that. Oh yeah, starting stand-up comedy. So
yeah, exactly.
One day I'll try. Yeah.
So you definitely should. Yeah, you definitely should. I think you'll definitely have fans in the audience, but you also gain fans as well. And then would you actually put footage of that on your TikTok, do you reckon?
I would put it on my Instagram to say, hey guys, look what I tried. But I would only do it for like, just for like well dones. Like I wouldn't actually put like jokes up there. Because I think like you got to show respect to like the medium of stand-up. I think like really good comedians, they'll work at it for like 10 years before they even, as in back in the day, before they even got the chance to have like one spot on TV, and then they would have a special maybe 5 years after that. And I think I think if you just go and do stand-up like 3 times and then start posting shit, it's kind of a bit like you're disrespecting it as like an art form, because I think you're not going to be good at that point. You know, you're going to have to learn for like at least a year before you're competent. You might have a lucky first show or something, because a lot of people do say that the first show tends to be unusually okay because I guess you're not expecting anything, and by the time you get a laugh, you just relax. But anyway, regardless, I would just put it up there just for like bands. I wouldn't start posting clips until I felt like I was experienced, basically. Yeah. So
your early days on TikTok, like before you blew up, and then when you started blowing up, could you just walk us through that a little bit, just so everyone can understand what that journey's like? Because there's obviously so many people that don't.
Yeah. So I was posting shit, absolute shit, just being, I remember telling my mates like, oh, I really want to blow up on TikTok. I was kind of pissing around, really, honestly, just the worst stuff, following trends and all this. And then one day I posted some more shit that, like we were talking about before we started recording, or when we started recording, just randomly blew up out of nowhere. And it was just me on the tube doing a TikTok dance trend in a kind of slightly different way. And it blew up to, at the time, it was like 150k. And that felt massive. And I was like, just, for some reason, just suddenly locked in. And I was like, it suddenly felt possible. Now I saw that I could do it. Or in my eyes, I'd gone viral. And now I've seen that. Then I was like, all right, I'm just going to fucking post all the time now. And I just ended up posting shit. And I've actually got a screenshot from the week that video went well for me. And like, it's that video has 147k, and then I've got 6 videos around it, which are my first 6 videos, and they all have like 2k. And I remember looking back, I looked at all those 2k videos as like also being successes, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I think I'm glad I did that because they were, because like I was posting every day at that point, and me getting more than 100 views, I was like, fucking hell, like here we go. Even though I'd had 147k by that point, I was just so happy that like I was in the thousands, you know. So then I just kept posting, and I always look at my base rate. So like back then, my base rate was, if I posted a TikTok, it would get about 2k views. And then I remember the day where I said to my mate, I was like, oh, I think my base level is about 10k now. Like if I post, I can expect it to get 10k. Now I feel like my base is 30k. So like if I post something that's utterly wank, I can expect it to get 30k still, which is where I see the success. Because like over time, my big TikToks went from like 147k was the first one, and then I got my first mil, and I was really excited about that. And then I got my second mil, and that was like an original sketch, and I was well excited about that. And then I hit 10 mil with the delivery ones, and that is mega exciting, and I love it, and it doesn't happen very often. And I do feel success in that, but the real success comes from that base rate for me, because that base rate is like, that's your like community, and that's the people who are locked into you, and they'll watch whatever, and they're kind of like, what's the word? They're like invested in you as a person, and that's good to our high base rate, because like we've talked about big people who get very big videos and very small videos, and I'm proud that I have like a good consistent level in the middle. Yeah. So yeah, that was my journey.
You might not want to answer this question, okay, but like, have you ever, because with the base rate, so from a business perspective, they're the ones that would actually want to buy like merchandise from you.
Wait, what do you mean?
So your loyal followers, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
So you've got your 30,000 that always turn up, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Have you ever had people like request merchandise, and have you got plans to do that at all?
Do you know what? I haven't even thought about it until you just said it now. When you said merchandise, I thought you meant brand stuff, like me selling someone else's stuff. Wait, do you mean merchandise of me?
Mate, if you made a T-shirt with like your face or some sort of like animated face and something about your character, like Jenny or whatever, if you had like you get those really stylized like outlines, or like you can't quite see the facial expressions. They're like quite artistic T-shirts.
Yeah.
So not like actually a picture of you. I mean, you could do that as well. But and then like, shut up, Jenny. I don't know. If you did that and sold them for like 10, 15 quid each, you'd probably sell hundreds.
You think?
No, 100%. Yeah, loads of people do it. Because you're at that point now. You've got loyal followers who actually like are probably at a point where they'd love to buy stuff from you. They'd love to support you. So I reckon, honestly, do that.
I was thinking about this, not in regards to me. I was thinking about it in regards to, what the fuck was it? I think it was a cafe. Oh yeah, no. The Time Out #1 best restaurant in London is called Cafe Cecilia, and maybe it's Cecilia, and it's near Broadway Market, right? And I went, and it was fucking banging, unbelievable, like ridiculous. And then I went to book again the other day, and I saw that they were selling Cafe Cecilia T-shirts, and for 40 quid, and I was like, fucking hell. But you know what? The first thing I thought was, I was like, oh, well, I'd have one of them.
Yeah.
I'd only been once. Mate, like, I just had a good bread and butter pudding. That was it. And they were all sold out. And so I did think, so now you mention this, maybe it's true. Like, maybe there'll be like 200 people out there who'll be like, I would probably get one.
So you need. You sell 200 of your loyalist fans.
Yeah.
And they'll want to buy a T-shirt, by the way. Like, it's supply and demand. They'll want to buy this. You're not like, I think some people look at it as like, oh, I'm sort of mugging them off in a way.
I do feel
no, but you're not, mate, because like, I would buy one. Because they're funny. Because it'd be like, oh, I've seen that Fred guy.
Right.
And it's like a community, isn't it? But you can do it so easily as well. I'll show you after if you want.
I would put the price at like basically cost price plus like a quid. Like I wouldn't want to be doing like a Cafe Cecilia at like 40 quid. You
can do stuff like there's a website called Squarespace.
Yeah.
Which is like website design. Oh, that might even be like what you were doing, right? Sort of.
No, I wasn't doing that. What do you mean? No,
digital marketing and stuff, right?
Oh no, but I know the website though. I wasn't doing that. Right. No, I've heard of another one that was similar. Is it where you just like submit your design and they sell it for you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do now. You don't even see the t-shirts. They just like they print it, they ship it, and then they take £2 and you take 7 or something.
Yeah, I think I will. Do you know what? I'll probably do it, and I'll probably do it for a bit of a joke. And like I say, I wouldn't do it to make loads of profit because I do feel really anxious about like looking like I'm mugging people off with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even with brand deal ads on TikTok. I mean, I've ranted to you about this before, but I get anxious that people see it as a bad thing. And I just want to talk to those people and be like, I don't think it is a bad thing. Like, please calm down. I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to do. So yeah, I wouldn't sell them for a lot, but I think it'd be funny. I might look into it.
It will actually be really funny. People buy them. People want them. This is the thing. But on that as well, like, so how have you, as you've grown?
Yeah.
How have you dealt with the? I suppose we're sort of because you're gonna get much bigger. Your trajectory is gonna get a lot bigger over the next year, you'd imagine, right? So we're sort of arguably in the early stages of it. But how have you dealt with that sort of like even being recognised in public, and also on the flip side of that, have you had many hating comments, and how have you dealt with that?
Do you know what? Thankfully, not had much hate comments. I can't remember. There's not one that springs to mind that like really got to me or whatever. And that's not to say that they're there and they just don't get to me. They honestly haven't been there. Like. And that's great. Like, there's obviously people who like take the piss out of you or whatever, but like I find that quite funny to be honest. Like, a lot of them make me laugh, especially if they're genuinely angry about something that I've done that was clearly harmless. I find that very funny. So no, the hate's been no hate. I think that some people really do struggle with that because of like maybe the topic that they're talking about. So it might be like, if you're like a fashion or beauty influencer, I think they get a lot of undue hate because they're projecting as fashionable or beautiful. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that must be really hard because you must have to be like, hey, here's how you look good on a Saturday night or whatever. And then that opens yourself up to people being like, you look shit, you look shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that must be shit. I think the reason why I don't get it is because a lot of my content is me looking shit or me being the butt of the joke or something like that. So I think it's fine. In terms of like being recognised in public, like I say, it doesn't happen much. It happens more when people are drunk because they're more confident to say it. So like if I'm around Soho on a Saturday night or something, I was just walking around Soho with my girlfriend the other night and a guy went, Fred, as I walked past it. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, people do that sometimes. But it really isn't many, and therefore I'm fine with it. Like, when it started to happen, I remember thinking, like, God, imagine being, like, famous. Like, imagine being, like, who's the most famous person in the world?
Beckham?
Yeah. David Beckham, Barack Obama, Beyonce. Like, imagine being these people, you can't fucking go anywhere. Tom Cruise, you can't go anywhere. It must be a nightmare. Like, I'm here stressing about trying to do comedy because there might, like, in a 1 in 100 chance, be one person in there that knows me. If you're fucking Tom Cruise, you can't do anything with your life ever again. Like, you're just going to have to be locked up and probably have security with you. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I dealt with it fine because it's not very common. There have been a few times where like I felt really embarrassed. So there was one time a couple of weeks ago, it was like bank holiday weekend, everyone was drunk, I was drunk on the tube, and a big hen do got on and they were all drunk. And I saw one of them lock eyes at me and I thought, because she could have been locking eyes at me for anything.
Yeah.
I was with my girlfriend, she might have just been locking eyes at me thinking, oh, look at them two or whatever, I don't know. But I thought, oh, really? And then I heard her say it really loud because she was drunk. Oh, is that guy from TikTok to all her mates? And you know when the carriage is really quiet? Like, it was kind of towards the end of like a Saturday night and no one else was speaking. So I heard that very clearly. And I thought, I really hope I really hope she doesn't say something because like there's too many of them. Like I don't know what to do. Anyway, so she ends up saying something, and I just felt so awkward because everyone in the fucking carriage could hear. And then I hate feeling like they're looking and being like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, he thinks he's all that getting recognised in public.
Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck he is, that kind of thing. And I don't want this to happen. And I'm trying to like just calm the situation down, and they're all being like, oh, I love this one, I love that one. And I love it that they love it, but I just don't know what to say. I'm just like on this quiet tube carriage being like, thanks very much. I went really red, and I just was like, it's not their fault, it's just I'm not good in that situation sometimes. That was quite intense. There was like 15 of them. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think every sort of like celebrity or whatever goes through this, public figure goes through this, right? So, have you read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights?
No, is it good though?
Really good, recommend it, because he's very, very candid around the transitional period. Because it's not like he sort of, some of the books that I've read about from like rock stars and stuff, they sort of like glaze over that transitional period.
And that's the most interesting bit.
It is, yeah, and some of them just sort of cover it in a couple of pages.
Yeah.
But McConaughey goes into it in like granular detail.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's a moment in the book where he's already done a couple of little movies, but he did some movie in like the late 90s. It was like his breakout movie. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what it was. The Time to Kill maybe or something. But
Rain of Fire? Is it Rain of Fire?
Maybe. Is that the dragon one?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Is it good?
I haven't seen it.
Oh. Okay, good chat. There's an interesting story about that as well. You should read it in the book.
Okay.
But basically, he walks down it's the day before the release day, and he walks down the boulevard of wherever he's staying in, I can't remember where it is. LA, I guess. Yeah, LA. It must be LA. So he walks down the boulevard, gets an ice cream, gets coffee, cracks on with his day. Nobody cares about him. He's just a normal guy. That's the Friday. On the Saturday, does the same thing, and he's walking down, and there's like tens of people keep looking at him, and he's like, "What is?" He's like, "Oh my god, is this now happen? Is this it? Am I famous now?" Like he's passed through the threshold.
Yeah.
And then people were like, one person asked for a picture, one person asked for an autograph. Sorry, because it's the 90s. And then like 10 did, and then he's like, "Oh my fucking god, this is it. This is my life. This is it for the rest of my life." So yes.
Do you know what I've noticed about TikTok is that you won't, not on his level, but you almost have that experience when you have a big video. But then the sad thing is you just see it disappear.
Yeah.
so when he got famous and then you sustain that for the rest of his fucking life, he'll never be able to walk anywhere again. On TikTok, sometimes I've had like maybe a 5 million video in a particular community, maybe like corporate. And then if I go walk in like a corporate area, I'll get recognised in the week after that video. But then I'll go walk there the next week and no one will recognise you. It's like people have like a very recent memory of what they've seen, memes they've seen. Because how many memes do you remember? Like, there are like 5 all-time memes, you know? So they're never going to remember you after a week. So like, basically, you see that jump and then you feel it go away. So like, I was at the Fast and Furious preview the other night, and because I'd done a big Fast and Furious TikTok, everyone there was like, "Oh, is that guy who did the Fast and Furious TikTok?"
No way,
so cool. Suddenly you feel like fucking Matthew McConaughey in the cinema because like that's the algorithm that just hit all those people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then obviously walk back to the tube after, and no one gives a fuck. So like, it's just weird how TikTok like hits the communities, and they'll remember you for like a short space of time. Yeah, and then it'll go away. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. And then it's like, you get stuck in this trap of, especially if you don't like the fame, like there's people who lean into it, like Dwayne Johnson, who's, you know, he seems to thrive on it. Tom Cruise seems to thrive on it.
On the fame?
Yeah. Right. And like, you know, Dwayne Johnson leans into it massively. Yeah. And I think that's probably the more healthy way to go about it. But there's like people like, I want to say Keanu Reeves, who really goes the other way with it.
Probably like Christian Bale, people like that. Yeah, they don't tend to like
Christian Bale. And you're sort of like, I suppose you get stuck in this weird rock and a hard place situation where you want to continue doing what you're doing because you love acting or you love creating comedy videos or whatever, you love singing, but you know that if you keep doing that, you're just going to get potentially more famous, and it's going to get worse. So what do? You know, and it's and then obviously there's the money thing and whatever. But
yeah, that must be hard. I think it must be hard to like. I was thinking about this when I was watching the Lewis Capaldi documentary.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you like transitional periods, that's the one you want to watch. Like, it goes through it so well. And like, I was watching that and thinking, fuck, it must be really weird to like have a talent, like what's the word? Like a distinct talent. Because I think when you're trying to make TikTok or something, what am I trying to say? When you're a good singer, nothing can take that away from you, unless you get a car accident. You know, like, you are a good singer, and you can just sing, and you will always be good. When you're trying to make a funny TikTok or something, you just might run out of steam. It might not be good. Like, you might completely miss for the next year. Whereas, like, when you lose Capaldi and people start hearing you and they start liking you, there's no getting off that train at that point. Because he's never going to stop being a good singer. You're just boom, 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 boom. More people find you, more famous, more famous. And then I was like, fucking hell, that must be terrifying. Because you're like, well, this is it now. Like, I'm just going to keep getting bigger forever. Until I lose my voice, I guess. Like, and even then, people are still finding him funny. He's just, when you're just like that talented, and when you're that undeniably good at what you do, there's no escaping it at that point, and that must be quite scary, I think. Yeah,
because it's like, comedy's more complex, like you said. You're only as good as like your last TV show,
exactly.
Your last couple of duds, and suddenly you fall off. Whereas singing, you don't just you don't turn into a bad singer overnight.
And also, you could say, oh, we might write a bad song, but people revisit songs forever. Whereas no one's going to fucking go back and watch a TikTok.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, actually.
Oh, yeah?
So, TikTok is supposedly, from everything I keep seeing from these growth experts and stuff, that it's turning into like more of an SEO-based platform, right?
Yeah.
Which means that it will back promote stuff from like 6 months ago, like YouTube does.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see, because you're saying, you know, I have one that blows up, 5 million, great, and then you sort on to the next one, sort of thing. Because nobody ever sees that video again. Nobody ever sees that Bella Porch video again, and it was the most viral video of all time. But yeah, that'd be interesting to see how that goes. And then I think that's where your skits. That's where they'll really take off, because they're like evergreen. They're not what's the word? Not relevant.
Knows what we're trying to think.
Like trending, like topical. Yeah, topical. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think as well, mate, just to sort of understand how you work. How do you go about creating a video? So how do you go about creating the on the fly ones?
On the fly ones. A lot of the time, if I can do it in the moment, I will. So if something happens to me on the street or wherever, and I have my phone and I'm on my own and I can do it, then I will do it, and I'll just tell the story completely candid. And when it's in the moment, it's always going to be better, because you're going to be candid and you make yourself laugh about it or whatever, or rant about it. If I can't do it in the moment, I'll just write it down, and then I'll try and go back to that place or a relevant place and almost reenact it, but really just tell the story, you know? So we talked about this before, like, I think something being candid is like, it's a subjective thing, because I think, like, you can be candid. Say, for instance, I did one about a guy knocking into me on the street. I didn't have a chance to record that story at the time, but I wrote the story down and I went out on the street and told the story as if it had just happened. I hadn't told the story to anyone in the meantime. The story rolled off my tongue as if it had just happened. So to me, that's a candid video. You're just taking your time to curate your stories, basically. So basically, that's that. I write it down if I have to, go back. Sometimes, like we're talking about with the stand-up thing, sometimes I get the sense that an idea or a story has a narrative that could be made into more of a joke structure, so that there's more of a punchline to it. So an example is, I was talking about a homeless guy on a TikTok recently, and I was saying that he asked me to go in the shop and get some stuff, and that was all true, and I did, and I brought him the stuff out. and he said, he asked me if there were no large Red Bulls, because he's asked me for a Red Bull, and I brought him a small, and he asked me if there were no large Red Bulls. And like, obviously to that, I just, in real life, was just like, nah, sorry, mate, like, I just gave him the thing. But on the TikTok, I did this whole punchline about like, oh, I just came for some fucking toilet rolls. Like, do you want to swap? Like, do you want my toilet rolls? And like, obviously I didn't say that to him in real life. But the point is that I recorded the real story, the real ending, like 3 times. And I was like, I think it's a funny story, but I just feel like feels like there's a build-up to nothing. So then I was like, do you know what? You can just add that punchline at the end. And people might think it's true, but I mean, why? Most people will realise it's just a punchline. And so sometimes, my point is that sometimes I'll like construct the story in a way that feels more like a joke, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what stand-ups do, right? And this is what I mean, what I was saying earlier around, I feel like a lot of your stuff is like halfway there to be put on a stand-up stage. You might need to just sort of adjust it a little bit.
Yeah.
Similar to how a lot of stand-ups do, because they're telling the same joke they told 5 years ago. But what about the skits though? Because obviously they're obviously a lot more complicated. So how does that work? How long do they take to make? How long do they take to film? Yeah.
So a skit might also come from something that's happened to me, or it might be like we were together when a fire alarm went off, and I said to you at the time, I want to do a skit about a fire alarm in the office because no one ever reacts to fire alarms. I considered going out and just talking about that because people quite like me talking about stuff, and I could be like, oh, isn't it mental when there's a fire alarm, no one ever reacts, and like maybe tell a story. But then I thought, no, I'll do it in a skit form. So then writing that skit, I know for some of my TikTok friends, takes a long time because they're much more thorough about it, and they quite often have much bigger videos too. For me, I really like to be in a room with someone else who I find funny and just have a general idea and just start talking. So I'll record my bit so they get the idea of what I want, and then they record the reverse bit, and then you're more just improvising really. So I like to have kind of an outline based on my note. But I'll very rarely write like an actual script unless it's an ad and I need to get it signed off or something like that.
Yeah.
So filming will take like probably 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how complex it is.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it would take a lot longer.
Yeah.
With just to sort of end this as well, one thing I did wanted to ask you about is the collaboration side of things with, because who is it you collaborate with?
Sam Cornforth.
Yeah.
Is that the guy you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
At Sam Cornforth on TikTok, at Sam Seaforth on Instagram. But don't follow him, follow me at Fred Asquith.
Is it just him you collaborate with?
Yeah, I really, really want to collaborate with more people, but we found each other on TikTok quite early on. We both had about 50k, and now we both have about 250k. I think he's got 260, twat. And and he...
Is it funny you're growing at like the same rate?
It is funny and also weird because I'm not just trying to be like modest. He's way better than me. And like, I've told him this recently. I didn't tell him it initially because we kind of only just met. But now we've known each other about a year, right? And I was like, mate, you don't deserve to be where I am. Like, you deserve to be way higher than me. Like, he makes such good skits. He takes so much time writing it and editing, filming and all this. And I love acting in this stuff because it's always really well planned. And we always laugh because my stuff is not well planned at all. And I always get him to act in it. And he's like, what are we doing? Like, what am I supposed to say? And I'm just like filming him. And I love working with him because we have the same sense of humour. And it is weird that we have a similar following. I am convinced that he's going to like blow up very soon. So I'm just treasuring the time that I'm nearby. Basically,
no, mate, your stuff you do together is so funny. Like, I can totally see you guys getting some sort of
he's great
comedy show. But
I love that. I fucking love that. Tell you what, sorry to interrupt. Have you seen Operation Mincemeat is on the West End? It's a new West End show. It's really small. I saw it a few weeks ago. It is so fucking good, and it made me jealous immediately. It's a comedy show.
Is that about the guy? The story about the guy, the World War II thing?
Yeah.
Where they fake a death of
Dead body.
You explain it.
I can't remember it. But they put a dead body in enemy territory with some clues on it, so the enemies thought that it was real, like the plot was real or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember where I learned about this, but
maybe in school. It's quite a famous story. I mean, I didn't actually know it, but I think it's a famous story.
I think I learned about it on the XFM show, on the Ricky Gervais XFM show. But
so that's a comedy troupe who have made a comedy play of that and brought it to the West End. It is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. And I said to Sam, I want us to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's enviably good. And like I honestly just want to like message him and be like, can I help?
Yeah.
There's only 6 of them and I think it seems quite tight knit. But yeah, that's the plan. One day.
But the beauty of like TikTok and stuff, right, is that you don't need TV shows and people like that to come to you because you've already got a good platform. So then it's just about you. I mean, going back to like monetizing and stuff, I suppose you could do that and then leverage that to then create something bigger. You know? And people, or people nowadays, they start like Kickstarters and all sorts. Like, did you ever watch? Do you like animation?
I don't watch much. No.
So did you ever watch like Charlie the Unicorn as a kid?
No, what's that?
I'll show it to you afterwards. It was a really, really viral cartoon on YouTube in like 2006, 2007 about these unicorns. It's just mental. But anyway, he's been releasing like the guy is called Film Cow, and he's had numerous viral videos. But he's been releasing a Charlie the Unicorn video like once every 18 months sort of thing. And then what he did is because everyone was like, "Can you just finish the story?" Because it's been 10 years. So they were like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll start a Kickstarter. If you guys give me 40 grand, I'll finish it." And the Kickstarter made $300,000.
Okay,
So what he did is he just went mental with it. Hired like animators and all this stuff, and just went mad with it. And he made like everyone was expecting like a 1-part 15-minute video because all the other videos are like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And he made like 8 videos,
nice.
all like 15 minutes long, and he released them over the course of like 18 months. So everyone it was like finale, and then it was like finale part 2, and it was like, and it was just like never ending. So anyway, my point is that you can do stuff like that nowadays, can't you? Where you can set up Kickstarters and stuff. So if you wanted to do that, people probably would. If you said like me and Sam or whatever are gonna make a play or whatever, do you want to contribute to the project so we can actually put time aside for it because we've got rent to pay?
Yeah.
People do that nowadays.
Maybe. I would feel a bit like I was getting on my high horse a little bit. I do feel though, like, I think we've talked before about like how TikTok is great because it's like democratized comedy, let's say, or it's democratized all types of like people. All types of entertainment. Because you can kind of have big videos from nothing if you're talented at something, right? However, I do think the danger of that is it's taken away the feeling of specialism, and it's taken away the feeling of like finding your lane. And so I wouldn't want to go into something and just assume that like, oh, well, I've had a few comedy TikTok videos that did well, so I will be able to do stand-up, TV sketches, theatre, comedy, things like that. Because the likelihood is, if I can do one, then I'm lucky. I might not be able to do any. Because like, I follow, for instance, this guy who I've seen at the Top Secret Comedy Club loads of times.
What's he called?
Russell Hicks.
The American dude.
He's great, isn't he?
I love him, and I was just watching an Instagram video of him yesterday. He's brilliant, isn't he?
He's so good, right? And I think, right, it's weird how, what am I trying to say? His comedy is so good live that you can't appreciate it on Instagram. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the way he interacts with the audience is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
And people are like laughing out of their chairs. Like it's so good. And when he's on Instagram, he's on his own. He doesn't have that interaction. You can't appreciate his style of comedy as much. And so he's found his perfect lane, which is like he's just a banging stand-up comedian. I'm here doing comedy TikToks. There's no chance I'm going to be able to do that as well as him. Do you know what I mean? Like I need to find my lane. Maybe it is that, or maybe it would be like theatre or something, or maybe it would be something on TV. Maybe it'd just be fucking like comedy panel shows. But the point is that like TikTok has come into this game, and I think they're thinking, well, I can just do it all. But like, I think you still have to work at it. Like, he's been doing stand-up for probably 10 years, and that's why he's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think you can, like, I couldn't just go and write a fucking theatre show and it'd be as good as Operation Mincemeat. Like, they've been touring that for 5 years. It's literally perfect. And they've probably started their careers in theatre and comedy theatre. They've probably done fucking degrees in it and shit. So my point is that I think TikTok has made it easier for talented people to find an audience. That's great. But I think it's made it maybe too easy to take too big of a leap too soon. And I think that you still need to like learn the craft from the ground up.
Yeah.
For a consistent career in it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do I sound like a dick again?
No, right. You sound
That's a fair point, right? Yeah.
So, where do you want people to follow you? What's your socials?
Yeah, follow me at Fred Asquith on all platforms. Mainly, I want you to follow me on Instagram. That's where the followers count.
If you're gonna spend your finger energy,
Instagram's the one. At Fred Asquith, ASQUITH. Get on Instagram because the followers count on Instagram and TikTok. They don't really matter. So
that's true, actually.
Yeah, get me on there. But Twitter's a bit of a wild west if you want to go on there. But mainly Instagram. Yeah. Cheers.
Instagram, and you are available on TikTok as well.
I am available on TikTok.
Cool.
That's where you get everything, all the shit and the good ones.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome, mate. Cheers for coming on.
Cheers. Thanks.